Hello and welcome to the 11th episode of Random Musings, another episode that everyone wanted, another guest that everyone kept requesting. And here he is, not just one of India's one of India's most popular and veteran comedians, also one of my closest friends, and someone I've been very, very, very eager to talk about so many different topics. And here we are. Give it up for Neville Shah.
Hello.
Hi, Neville. Hi. Welcome to
Hello.
Random
I'm wearing a
Musings.
shirt, KV.
Thank you so
Because
much for doing
your
this.
instruction came with shirt. I don't think there's anybody who can say no to you, like in any possible way. So,
Thank you.
dude,
Thank
I
you.
had to find a shirt.
Thank you. For an advertising guy to find a shirt, I know
Yeah,
it means a lot.
it's a lot.
So I want to
Also, I
start
know that
today's.
I
Sorry,
know
sorry.
that this is an episode where you will again ask questions only, and I'm supposed to know the answers,
Yeah.
right? Like I've seen the format. I'm still nervous. I'm still like, KV is going to throw one question which I'm going to have to deduce my own life for, and then I'm going to have the right answer or wrong. मैं pen और paper लेके बैठा I don't understand. It's just so unnerving. Oh
Oh
God.
man.
Hell. So
Okay.
excited.
Same. I want to start with advertising, Neville, and I'll tell you why. Okay.
Hmm.
When I went for my MBA, legit, and people will not believe this, but I went in my naivety because I wanted to do advertising. Okay. So this is cut to 2011. I go to one of my dream B schools. I go to FMS Delhi and I met the placement team there and they asked me my dream company. Okay. And I said, and this is my answer, I said Ogilvy, McCann, FCB, like all the advertising agencies. And they started laughing.
Hmm.
And I was like, why? I love advertising, etc. I've been obsessed with advertising, etc. And they said कि advertising agencies campus में आती है, but they come on the last day because they don't pay. Within a few months, I realized that, okay, I will never be an advertising guy. I'll be a brand guy. Okay.
Hmm.
But I was always obsessed with advertising till date. Like every time I watch an ad, I try and deduce like, okay, what is the brand proposition? What is the message? What is happening, etc., etc. And till date, I'm obsessed with people who are like, even when I was brand manager, every time I'll have these advertising agency meetings, I would be very curious कि ये art का बंदा है, ये copywriting है, ये कर रहा है, वो कर रहा है, and all that. And in random musings, one of the things is we talk about things that we don't talk enough about. And you're here, the first advertising guy on random musings. So I want to start talking to you about this world, this curious world of advertising. And you've been, for those of you, our viewers who don't know, you've been with Ogilvy for quite a long time now. You've been in the world of, and Ogilvy is not just any other advertising agency. It's one of the world's best known advertising agencies and you've been at forefront of so many brand campaigns over so many years. So I want to start today's episode just talking about nostalgia of advertising, the world of advertising, and everything about advertising.
The funny thing is, I I this is probably one of the few things that I have said somewhere before, because like my mom used to tell me that when DuckTales and all these other shows would come, like OEO, Tailspin and all of that used to sort of come. I used to be transfixed during the ad breaks, which is a weird thing for a kid. And this has absolutely no correlation to what I'm doing now, but I think it's sort of somewhat poetic that I'm doing it. But it would be weird because I was glued to the TV when ads were playing. Whether it was Sundrop Super Refined Sunflower Oil, and it just baffled me that a puri was the size of a child. Like I don't know why it was. So it just I don't know why. And the thing is, I did FYJC science in Bombay. I did science. I did SYBS. Then I did BSc or whatever. I had no clue that there was somebody who wrote ads.
Mm,
Like I didn't know it was a career option at all.
mm,
Like I absolutely stumbled into it.
mm,
Um, and yeah, so it was just so bizarre. I mean, and if you actually like, and the thing is, I've worked in the US and I've worked here. These are the two advertising countries that I've sort of worked in. So the unbelievable work across the world is unbelievable by all standards in terms of craft, execution, messaging, idea, all of that, right? But 90% of ads on international television, whether it's the US or Europe, are bad. Okay, they're all like old people for medication, and like, it's like those kind of, or even it's like, here, come and get your cars from this guy and whatever, right? It's very like radio spot on advertising,
Hmm.
but in on TV. But in India, our obsession with storytelling, our average ads are far superior compared to the world's advertising. And unfortunately, we'll never do well at Cannes and all the other ad festivals, whether it's DNAD or One Show or any of these, because I feel um, our biggest fallacy is that we don't do necessarily global stories. We do stories that are intrinsically Indian, and that's what I think is the joy of being in the Indian advertising industry. Because I still think we're a story obsessed country. सब लोग बोल रहा है sir, TV is dead and all. Agreed, 90% of TV is dead or whatever. But the best stories are still on TV only. You need 30-45 seconds to tell that story. आप 10 सेकंड में क्या ही कर लोगे? आप 6 सेकंड में क्या ही मैसेजिंग कर लोगे skip button के पहले? So I think that's really what it is. And I've been extremely fortunate because when I joined advertising, like you and like 500 and other million people who work in advertising, the dream agency is Ogilvy. The dream agency is Ogilvy, and the dream brand is Cadbury. Like you're like, मेरे को Cadbury का ad बनाने का, और fortunately मैं यहाँ पहुँचा है कि मैं Cadbury का I work on Cadbury, right? One of my brands, and I've been very fortunate to have gotten this. I didn't think that I was worthy, and that's a virtue of any creative person. I think that just was, लेकिन genuine है क्या मतलब, okay, like it's just that feeling. So yeah, I mean, I've loved advertising. I don't know, I still remember the jingles, I still remember
Yeah.
the dialogues, and it's those, like, even Pankaj Kapoor, Javed Jaffrey, like it's different. And like, even before that, if you think about it, saying शादी और तुमसे कभी नहीं पान पसंद, gold spot, the zing thing, gold spot, like I mean, yes, I'm archaic, I understand it, but those things haven't left me.
Yeah.
Like I don't have, one of the biggest complaints that I have in my life is that I don't have a lot of, I don't know why it is, but I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood. Like, you people can remember something that happened at age 5 or at age 6 or at age 10. I, for some reason, don't have those crystal clear memories. I don't. Maybe repressed or whatever, but irrelevant. The point is, but ads, for some reason, movie dialogues, ads, song lyrics, for some reason they just stick. Those are the only things that have stuck with me.
But one complaint that a lot of people who saw those Doordarshan ads have with current advertising, and you've seen Indian advertising evolve over so many years, that people say, man, those were the days of like the Dairy Milk Kuch Khas Hai Zindagi Mein ads, or like Dhara Dhara Shuddhara or Hamara Bajaj and all that. And people say that ads are not the same anymore. But obviously, the counter argument is there are so many media now compared to just watching TV, or maybe there are just too many ads now compared to just a few select ads. Do you feel the advertising standards have gone down, or it's just our attention span has gone down? Like, how has it evolved?
नौकरी गवाएगा तू. So I'll tell you, it's two three pronged. Like the answer is like in several, for several reasons, several things. I don't think classics are made instantly. So in 40 years, we should be talking about, or 20 years, we should be talking about ads that we make now. And if an ad sticks with you in 40 years, it would be considered a classic. And at that point, people would be like, they don't make ads like that anymore. So I think that that's the definition of an iconic sort of campaign. I'm saying when Pepsi did Oi Bubbly, right? We all mocked it.
Yeah.
But we all remember Oi Bubbly, and that was what, not too long ago. I mean, if you think about it, it was one of the World Cups. If you look at Amir doing Coke, which was the Aila kya face hai, if you remember that, or the Thanda Matlab Coca Cola. When Thanda Matlab happened, what was Thanda? But Thanda is iconic. It's great. It's in the newer genre of advertising. It's post 2000.
Yeah.
So it's in the newer genres of advertising, but it's still iconic. Why are we talking about it 20 years later? Because it's still good. So I think 30 years from now or 20 years from now, or even 10 years from now, you'll be looking at the cred ads and saying they were really good. You'll be looking at the Swiggy ads and saying they were really good. You'll look at a couple of Cadbury ads and say they were really good. I also think we don't have the luxury of time or attention spans because advertising is an interruption. So I think we're spending more time trying to be creatively intrusive than creatively interesting. So what's are I think there's several reasons to that for it to happen, but I don't think you can consider an ad to be an iconic ad in the first 5 years of its release. That's not uh, Shubharam Cadbury. uh, it's what, it's 2010s 2010s. क्या आप मुझे घर छोड़ देंगे? मैं सोच रहा था मैं आपको घर छोड़ दूँ। माँ कहती है कि शुभ काम करने से पहले। It's iconic, no? It's 10 years ago. Why are we discounting that? But वो भी 45 सेकंड की फिल्म है। I'm saying it's 45 seconds. It's not the 15s and the 20s. IPL पे 20 सेकंड ही चलता है। ये मीडिया प्लानिंग का रूल है। टेप ही एक्सेप्ट नहीं होती 20 सेकंड से ज्यादा, तो आप क्या क्या ही कर लोगे? Zuzu is iconic, which is again IPL.
You talked about doing FIJC science and everything, and I in fact recently went to your school as well in Panchgani, which has given us Freddie Mercury and you and several other iconic people. Which brings me to my next topic, which is education system. And I personally put a lot of stress in my mind, and I know it's unfair, but I give a lot of and I talked about it in my previous Random Musings episode with Shrimoy, I think, where I said I have this special thing for like which college did this person go to, or what did he study, where did he study, and all that. I personally feel like one of my biggest achievements is my education from FMS Delhi. And I keep saying to my close friends, and I'm saying this in public now, that every time someone says that, what if tomorrow this comedy career is like, it's just over one overnight, or YouTube is not a thing anymore, or Instagram is not a thing anymore. And I keep telling myself that you take away everything, I'll still be an MBA from FMS Delhi, that you can't take away from me. So in my mind, this education, or like whatever I've my educational background and history, I lay a lot of importance to it. And I know for a fact that you have a lot of thought around your own education, and in terms of not just your own personal education, but how education system in our country works, etc. So I want you to delve into your opinion of education in general and education system.
So I mean, I don't know. I'm certain that it's gotten better. I passed the 10th standard in 1996. So that's giving you, like, it's in the last millennium that I have passed my 10th board, right? You know, and I came also from that generation where you can't play cricket for a living. You can't do arts karega to teacher banega, like, and it's not like it's a bad thing to be a teacher, dude. It's a great thing to be a teacher. So why are you doing this? So that's one thing. The other thing is, every time I have done a college show of any college I have gone to do a college show, or judge an event, or any of those things that we get called for and we do, I feel sad. Like, I feel there is a certain sense of काश मैंने पढ़ाई की होती, काश मैं अच्छा होता in like, it's just like you have extreme pride on FMS, on being an FMS graduate. I have an extreme insecurity, or an extreme wistfulness of not being accredited with an education. That is not to say that I'm well read, in the sense that I've picked up books on my own and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's a lack of acumen, if it's a lack of ability, if it's a lack of just teacher. And I was again fortunate enough to go to a boarding school where my entire class strength, when we passed out in the 10th standard, the entire 10th standard was 23 students. That is nothing. That is literally 23 students per teacher is a luxury in a school in Bombay, or in any of the other major cities that we look at, right? If you go to state board schools or municipal schools, the ratio is even larger. Funnily enough, I was actually looking at some of, I was doing some cleaning and clearance and like Mary Kondoing some of my stuff. And while I was decluttering, I found one Manekji Cooper Education Trust, which was the school I went to before Peters. So one Manekji Cooper का third standard या second standard का एक book होता था. So junior KG to third standard or something, there was one book where your teachers would do your evaluation and all of that, or second standard or something. So I saw in that, in whatever second or third standard, I got 98 in maths and I got 68 in English, which is diametrically opposite to what my life is right now. Like if you told me that I got 98 in maths and 63 in English, or I told you, KV, I got 98 in maths at some point in my life, you would be like, not possible, please leave. Right? Because you know how petrified I am of maths. And so I'm like, somewhere something went wrong. Now, whether it's the education system failing me failing the education system, maybe a bit of both, maybe the fact that at that time teachers didn't have the aptitude to pick up on, say, this is a student that probably needs a little more help, or this is a student that does not enjoy this, or thing like international school curriculums don't make you pick 6 sciences. Like they don't make you pick every single science in the world. You get to pick a history or a geography or an English or another language or whatever, which I think is probably the way to go. But again, it's fortunate that I had the experience to do this, but I've always felt that I am not educated. It's the exact opposite of your FMS feeling that I have, which is, gosh, मैंने थोड़ी पढ़ाई की होती. And the thing is, while my mom used to teach me मार के बॉम्बे में, मेरे मार्क्स नंबर अच्छे आते थे. The minute I was left to my own devices in a boarding school, ना तो होमवर्क होता था, ना तो क्लास वर्क होता था, ना तो एग्जाम्स में अच्छे नंबर आते थे. It just, none of it would, I don't know, it just didn't make sense. I just started dropping as a student. Like I feel incredibly insufficient as a person because of that. And it's education. It's not intelligence. It's not aptitude. It's not any of those things. It's this thappa of education, which I kind of feel bad. Also the way they teach, like ये मेरे साथ बिस्वा के साथ हुआ था, and I think I mentioned this somewhere. जूनियर कॉलेज और थोड़ा ऐसा सीनियर कॉलेज में ना, डिग्री कॉलेज में ना, दे टीच यू लाइक डेरिवेटिव्स, इंटीग्रेशन. आई डोंट नो इफ यू लर्न इट इन द 10th स्टैंडर्ड आल्सो, मे बी यू डू, आई डोंट नो. बट दिस dy by dx एंड ऑल, ये सब देख के मेरे को डर लगता था. ठीक है, लाइक जेन्युइनली इट्स इंटिमिडेटिंग टू मी. लाइक npn फैक्टोरियल, nc फैक्टोरियल, व्हाटएवर, ऑल ऑफ दिस मेरे को डर लगता था ये सब सुन के. Biswa at the OML office, in literally 15 minutes, we were having some conversation, and I was like, but bro, why do you need derivatives? And you know Biswa's philosophy, right? He thinks maths is a religion. It's the definition of everything in the world, right? And you can explain or exemplify or solve anything with maths. So he was slightly frustrated with the fact that I was not understanding derivatives. So he took a A4 paper and he explained to me the need for derivatives, not what dy by dx is. He explained to me why you need a derivative. Then he drew one graph, and then he drew a line going upward but not linear, right? And he said, अभी तेरे को ये से ये का स्पीड का कैलकुलेशन चाहिए, तो तेरे को कैसा मिलेगा? उसके लिए डेरिवेटिव बना है. I have suddenly understood the purpose of derivative without understanding dy by dx, and I think that that's missing. At least that was missing when I was learning. Why is quizzing so exciting? Because there is a curiosity, and when you deduce an answer, there is no greater feeling than starting reading a question and being like, ये तो solve होने वाला ही नहीं है. And then you spend more time on the question, and then you look at the hints that KV has put, or inflection while KV was reading the question, and he has said ये word पे उसने stress दे दिया, तो मतलब इसमें कुछ है, and you've come to the answer, and you're like, that's the, oh my God, there is No greater feeling. And I think to pique curiosity in children before you actually uh, force it down their throat, I think that would be a really great way of teaching. Like क्यों कोई सिखाता नहीं है, क्यों चाहिए इंटीग्रेशन, क्यों चाहिए डेरिवेटिव. एस वाई बी एस सी या एफ वाई बी एस सी में ना एक थियरम होता था मैथ्स में, इन द नंबर लाइन, as the numbers come closer to zero, the distance between them gets smaller. ऐसा कुछ एक थियरम था. आई माइट बी फुल्ली रॉन्ग बिकॉज आई डोंट नो मैथ्स. My first question is why? I don't even go in entering it saying, wow, that's interesting. But someone with the aptitude of an engineer or someone who's interested in maths and numbers will be, fuck, kaise hota hai pata? Like, because there is an inkling, there is a bend to it. मेरे पास है ही नहीं वो, but आप ठूस रहे हो मेरे अंदर ये information. I'm not interested, bro. So I don't know. There is something I feel like a tremendous insufficiency in my life.
One recurrent theme, Neville, in the entire thing that you talked about is your feeling of being inadequate, and I relate to that because not in education, etc., but in general in life, especially in relationships, etc., I feel very inadequate as a person. I feel like, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. Or all of us have that insecurity at different stages and different fronts in life. And I want to explore that with you, of this feeling of just being inadequate, not just in maths, but in general in life. Do you ever feel that you're not good enough, or you're not adequate enough, or you can be much better, etc., etc.?
Oh, 100%. I mean, um, yeah, I mean, my whole mental health journey is kind of that only. Started with inadequacies. I mean, more importantly, realizing the inadequacies more than anything else, right? I mean, I think one of the biggest fears you have as a creative person is that मेरा talent खत्म हो जाएगा. Like there is a finite amount of talent, and I'm not saying I'm talented, but I'm saying the skill that you've been given as in my case, a copywriter in advertising. One day I will not be able to form words only. Like I'll just be able to write letters, or things won't make sense anymore, or मैं joke नहीं बोल पाऊंगा stage पे, yeah, whatever the skill set is. And there is a big sense of the imposter syndrome, because and if you live in a creative field, I think the imposter syndrome is even more highlighted on an almost everyday basis, because एक brief आती है और आप brief सुन के एक बहुत ही like the minute you hear it, instinctively you get a great idea and you're like, this is the best idea in the world, and then you spend 5 minutes with that idea and you're like, it's the worst idea in the world, ये मैंने सोचा कैसे. And then you'll go on brooding about that, saying the world will discover that I'm a hack. No, no, no. Oh no, I have to write another. And then somehow or the other, your brain does something and an idea comes, right? And you think because it is accidental, which it's not. If you actually think about it, it's not accidental. It is training of, in my case, whatever, 20 odd years or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm saying there is a certain amount of training and there is a certain amount of acumen, life experiences that you've sort of garnered, and that helps you do it. So it's not an accident, but the discovery of an idea just seems accidental every time, every single time. And so you're like, ek din ye band hone wala, ye tap, this tap will, then what will you do? And this is true for everything, whether it's relationships, whether it's there is a certain sense of inadequacy that I constantly have, and it also has to do with me as a person sometimes in my personal life, where I have this ideal self and my real self, like an ideal self being like a Sorkin character, or but my real self is a villain in a Kadir Khan film, and so it's two extremes that exist, and to try and live with both those realities sometimes is extremely hard, and you feel like a fraud, and sometimes you slip. I've slipped several times, and you try to then regain control and get back. But yeah, there is a, I think everybody has it. I think everybody has it in some sense, and like you said, in different fronts, in different spheres, in different ways. It manifests itself also in different ways. It may not always be as crystal clear as this, but yeah, है. मेरे को तो बहुत बुरा लगता है कॉलेज जाते हुए, ऐसा लाइब्रेरी देखता हूँ तो मेरे को ऐसा, मैं लाइब्रेरी में एक बार भी क्यों नहीं गया, like.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that, Neville, about books and reading, because I know we've discussed this earlier, but sometimes जैसे library देख के, or when you go to a bookstore, or you just see even on Kindle when you see that store, and you feel like, how do I read everything that exists in the world?
There,
Right? Do you go through that feeling where you're like, is it
there is
like, what
only
do I
one
do?
person who has done, I think one person in the world has read everything, and that is Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Fry has read every single book, every single podcast, has either narrated every single book or whatever. The man is so well read. It's unbelievable how well read he is. But yeah, I absolutely feel that. I feel bad for, we mock authors like say a Chetan Bhagat or a Paulo Coelho, and this erudite populace of I will read Man Called Ove, and like, and I'm definitely that person. What we don't realize is Chetan Bhagat has fucking written a book. Have you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
have you put something on a shelf?
Yeah.
So don't mock. Two, say what you want, but Chetan Bhagat has brought at least a million people into the habit of reading, into the fold of reading. For someone who keeps complaining, saying no one reads anymore,
Hmm.
you've got a million readers thanks to that guy, right? Like, you be as erudite as you want about it, or esoteric as you want about it, but the reality and the truth of the matter is this, right?
Hmm.
So uh, sometimes I do feel bad when I have to read a book and it's not good, or not good by my standards, which is why now I'm a little careful saying not good, because bro,
Hmm.
तूने एक किताब लिखी है क्या, तो तू
Hmm.
क्या बोल रहा है not good?
Hmm.
But yes, I'm definitely part of the club that has said, has mocked, say, a Chetan or Paulo Coelho or any of these Jonathan Livingston,
Hmm.
Seagull, whatever those
Hmm.
books are.
Hmm.
Fuck, I'm saying it now also mockingly. But there are these people who have gone this distance, right? Like, even Harry Potter. It's not the most watertight story. On the God, streamer is going to kill me. But it's not the most watertight story on the planet, right? Like, there's fallacies in the book and all of that. But look at the number of kids that set those 7 books brought into reading, into exploring the mind of opening your mind, right? Like, there is that, right? And there's this one thing that I just want to that I want to refer to, thoda braggy hai, but like, in one of my AMAs, right? And I think it was one of those days where I managed to encapsulate something that I wanted to say
Hmm.
fairly decently well. It's a rare day. Somebody asked me that, why is reading more preferred when you can get everything in video or pictorial form,
Hmm.
right? And my answer was, a person is walking down the street. Every single person reading this is imagining a different person, a different pace of walk, a different street. If I show it to you, that's what you are seeing. That's the difference. Everyone thought about a different walk when I mentioned the walk. That's craft. Now, so to me, there is a difference between reading and writing, reading and watching, right? And whether it's Rowling, whether it's Roald Dahl, whether it's Chimamanda, whether it is Brené Brown, whether it could be anybody in the world, or Chetan Bhagat, or Paulo Coelho, or Veer Sangvi, or anybody, or Kautuk Srivastav, or
Yeah.
Saurabh Pant. They have written a book, they have put it out in the world, and you haven't. So who are you to sort of mock that? But I used to have this horrible habit of reading labels.
Hmm.
वो ऐसा मिल्कमेड का डब्बा,
Yeah.
not just expiry date, but क्या क्या लिखा है, this that, which is why I fell in love with this brand called Innocent,
Hmm.
because Innocent Juices,
Hmm.
it's a British brand,
Hmm.
and you can Google Innocent labels on literally, and there are images. And there was a brand out there that decided to spend time crafting what's written on the bottle. It's a they spent time writing on the, and it was that dry Brit wit, saying banana, strawberries, and cream. Is there a better drink in the summer? You would think. And then, it's, and this is all terrible what I'm just saying, but
Hmm. Hmm.
it's crafted so well,
Hmm.
and it has cadence, and it has structure and pauses, and someone spent time writing it on a label. So why would you not give them that credit, right? So मैं तो कुछ भी पढ़ता हूँ, but yeah, I will always regret
Yeah.
not having read everything ever that is ever written.
Takes me to our next topic, Neville. And I know for a fact that another thing that you've struggled a lot in life is not being able to finish things that you start. And I know that whether it's karate or whether it's music or like badminton or swimming, there are so many things in your life that you started but you could not finish.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about these things, or like what are these? How did it happen, or how do you look back to all these unfinished jobs of your life?
I really don't know. I don't know. And you know the funny thing in advertising is that you will like the reason why I connected back to advertising is because advertising is kind of like that. Uh, you are never a master of anything. You are a jack of all trades.
Hmm.
So because you're working on one category, तो वो category के बारे में जानना जरूरी है. So you'll learn things about finance and stuff like that, but you'll never master it
Hmm.
because it's only as much as I need to know for the campaign. And then I will learn something about cars, but I'll never master cars. I will know MPFI engine and DTSI and braking and ये वो, but उतना ही एक silo जितना you've read. And then it's the same thing for pretty much anything that you, whether it's financial instruments, whether it's sanitary napkins, whether it's face wash, whether it's chocolate, whether there's only, you're not mastering anything. And it's it's again poetic that I don't know, like even as a kid, like, and I think my mom used to get frustrated the most with this because ये सब स्कूल में नहीं सिखाते थे. So they were all extra classes, which means that you're paying for them. And as a single mom, it wasn't the, I mean, we weren't extremely well off, right? Like there were months which were a struggle. Matlab, aisa,
Hmm.
uh, like the other day while I was decluttering, I found one letter that my mom had written to a bank, um, pretty much, and fairly late in, like I want to say like 98 or something it was dated. And the letter was saying that I've opened this account Falana Dimka in my son's name. However, since I'm in need of money, I would request you to issue a check of rupees 5,000. 5,000. Matlab, so just conceptually, and there's a lot of guilt from that as well because my mom didn't say no to anything. Like she didn't. I mean, she would always be like, you've started swimming, why have you left it halfway? You wanted karate, you joining karate, तू ऐसा येलो बेल्ट करके क्यों छोड़ दिया है, या ब्लू बेल्ट करके. यू वांटेड टू स्टडी पियानो, जो स्कूल में सिखाते थे. You wanted to study piano, I got you extra lessons also for piano. I have a grade 3 Trinity College piano certificate from like grade 3 where you should be able to play. I don't know shit. Like I don't know anything. Like uh, I I I mean, when I look at other play, I'm like, this is what, if I had just spent 18 years studying the piano, like 4 hours a week, I would be able to play like that. Like I would not maybe as good as him, but like
Hmm.
I would be able to play C major and a song. I would be able to play do re mi fa sol la ti do without a problem, you know. And so like this, I don't know whether it was ADD, ADHD, whether it was the fact that I just wasn't competent and so I would back off because I wasn't good at any of those things. Maybe it just seemed like I was doing it because everybody was doing it. Like all my friends went to karate, or all my friends were playing. Some friends were playing karate, friends were playing music, and there was this dire, desperate need to try and fit in. I guess because I didn't have siblings, so I don't know. It just is. These are all like in hindsight and retrospective thoughts that sort of happened. But पता नहीं, it's just something that I've never, and I've always, again, I've always felt bad about it कि साला तूने गिटार भी सीखा लेकिन बजाता नहीं है, तू पियानो सीखा लेकिन बजाता नहीं है, कराटे आता है तेरे को लेकिन you won't be able to stand a chance against anybody if you get into a fight. So I don't know. It's something that's weird. Like I don't know what it is. I probably, I mean, I'm just clumsy at. I mean, if you think the one thing I've stuck to is writing. I mean,
Hmm.
but that's because it's paying the bills.
Yeah. Maybe one. theme that I noticed in our conversation so far is that you've mentioned your mom a lot. But
Yep.
one figure that's lacking in all the conversation is your dad. So I want to talk about that relationship and how was your relationship with your dad? And you shared with me earlier that he was an alcoholic, but he loved you a lot, etc. So might as well just maybe explore that relationship because a father-son relationship is of course a very special relationship. It's something that is a topic very close to my heart, and maybe I'll be courageous enough to talk about it myself someday. But now that you're here, and now that I know you have a very complex relationship with your father, I want you to maybe talk about your relationship with your father.
So, I mean, I lost my dad when I was like 21, 22. Okay. But I didn't realize the impact of my dad till much later. I think after mom passed away and I started doing therapy and stuff like that, like there were questions that were posed to me that were really difficult, that made me sort of see it. Like growing up, I didn't like my dad. I mean, straight up, I didn't like my dad. And it was because my- in my head, he left my mom. I mean, that's what it felt like. Um, and over, I think a lot of talking and stuff like that, I realized that no, it's not. And I think you sort of tend to realize that there are two people who don't necessarily deserve to be together or should be together. Uh, I mean, my dad was an alcoholic, but he has hit me once in his entire life, and it was a slap because I was rude to a waiter. I was rude to a waiter. He turned me around, he slapped me, and he said, "Don't do it ever again." He slapped me once in my entire life. He's never raised his voice at my mother or raised a hand or a finger, even not even threateningly, not even like, hey, I mean, not even that, right? Uh, and could also be a virtue of the fact that my parents split up fairly early in thing. But I think my dad was way cooler than my mom. Like he was just like he was a cool dude. And I know this much that I was a lot more comfortable telling him when I was in trouble, and asking him to bail me out than my mom. I don't know why, but that was one bond. There was that, and there was also, "Dad, I think I need money." There was that other bond, which, and I think it's matlabi, but I think all kids are, and can be, I think, at some point, especially with your parents. But I think my dad did everything to make my life comfortable. Um, uh, and not just monetarily, because I mean, uh, I think once you are so far into uh, alcohol, I don't think that those kind of things are uh, are easy to do. Like, I mean, you lose your job fairly early. I mean, he had his own business, but sort of didn't do too well with it and things like that. And those are the ill effects of it. But even within that, like, you know, I was one of those really privileged people where if we would do one holiday a year as a family. Um, and if my dad was very busy, and he couldn't, then we would stay at a five-star in Bombay for 2 days, and that was a holiday. Jo abhi sab staycation type,
Mhm.
what's called a staycation. Uh, my dad would be like, okay, we can't go to whatever Madurai, or we can't go to Tirupati, or we can't go to Kashmir or Gujarat, or any, like, we can't do this, so we will go and stay at Oberoi for 2 nights. And Oberoi 2 nights is expensive. I mean, you'd rather go to Delhi.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
like you'd rather go to Delhi and stay in another hotel. But my dad just tried to make sure that if I was involved, there was comfort. There was no thing like, uh, I remember the school. We would have 3 breaks in Panchgani. We would have an August rain break for 14 days. We would have a Christmas break, and then we would have summer vacation. So winter vacation, summer vacation, but we would also have a rain vacation, because you've just been to
Mhm.
Panchgani and you know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
Mahabaleshwar is in the rain, right? So it's so my dad used to try and figure out if there was a way for me to not take the bus, which was the ST bus, because तभी 8 घंटे लगते थे from Panchgani to Bombay, and you had to come down the Mahad route and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And my dad used to do everything in his power to say that, okay, we'll get a cab and, you know, bring him by cab or something like that. And it's happened a couple of times. Sometimes it was just not feasible money wise and things like that. But he did everything to make me happy, which was strange. I remember, I remember when I got into Simbi. This is just before he passed. When my mom told him that I got into Simbi, he couldn't believe it. He was like, because mera beta nikamma hai. Like, there is,
Mm.
how can he get into a semi prestigious institution? There is no chance. How can he? And he was like really proud and all that. Unfortunately, he passed away at that point, but he was like super proud, like wow, and like oh, and all of that. Which again, so it just makes me feel like, of the memories that I have with my dad, there are some memories that are asynchronous in
Mm.
time, because I remember eating dinner with him at a restaurant in Andheri East pre 93, but the song that was playing was Yaro Sun Lo Zara in my head. So I'm
Mm.
like, this can't be possible.
Mm.
It's an asynchronous memory,
Mm. Mm.
right? But there's that. But I've watched so many World War films: Guns of Navarone, Bridge on the
Mm.
River Kwai, Escape from Sobibor, Tora Tora Tora. You know, all the Clint Eastwood films, whether it is Few Dollars More, The Old Django,
Mm. Mm.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. All those westerns that used to come
Mm.
with my, where my dad, like whenever I would go to meet him, he would pick up this video cassette, and we would sit and we would watch, and he would have his two pegs and I would have coke, and we would do cheers, and we would watch this movie in the night, and thing. And those are some of my fondest memories. Like, I saw Guns of Navarone the other day, and technically that film is terrible, okay, because it's like the whole film is day for night and all that, but you have to realize it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
But like, I was just remembering everything, whether it's Anthony Quinn or like you're just like thinking about it, and you're like, oh, this Irene Papa, oh, I remember Irene Papa, like, you know, you get so excited about it. um so yeah, I mean, I have these things. And what my dad gave me from a reading lens and what my mom gave me from a reading lens are two completely different worlds, because they had the common PG Woodhouse thread, but there was Dick Francis, which my mom despised,
Mm.
like with a vengeance. She hated Dick Francis, right? And then my mom you would read Wilbur Smith, which my dad hated. Like, he was like, what is this? This is just bad books. And when, like, half my old book collection which I gave up was just suitcases, libraries from my dad's house and from my mom's house, right? And my dad was spoiled. Like, he had a bungalow in Chembur, right? Like those big bungalows in Chembur that exist here. It
Mm.
was a bungalow in Chembur, and he was pretty spoiled. It wasn't like he was not off money. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it is. But like, in hindsight, I know that he loves me. I just, again, I wish I had a relationship that was more than what it was.
Yeah. When I think of your childhood, then Neville, you have a very loving father, loving mother, but they're split, and you're in a boarding school. And then at that boarding school, or in general in your school life, you were bullied as a kid. So I want to explore that further because I'm sure there are a lot of people watching this or listening to this who have been bullied in some shape or form. And obviously, it has effects that sometimes stick with you throughout your life in some shape or form. Do you want to talk about that experience of you being bullied in school as a kid?
So yeah, I mean, one or two things I won't, obviously, um,
Mm.
because they're too personal to a point where like 4 or 5 people only sort of know it.
Yeah,
um, and those are some of the things that have impacted me for longer than they should
yeah.
have. Some of them still are triggering, but not, I've learned to cope and deal.
Mm.
But I think bullying is a very strong word in terms of, you know, it's always about thinking that someone's hitting you or making you take a chaddi off, or
Mm.
any of that. I don't think it's like that. I think that there's these subtle forms that also sort of add to it. A lot of times, I feel it could have been even my fault. Just the fact that I was a clumsy person, or and like, kids are mean. They're not. They're not always accepting.
Mm.
You need one excuse to be ostracized, and I gave them enough, because I was overreaching. I was trying to be extra friendly. I was trying to be more involved, and I was not capable of any of those things. मतलब if you are playing, if you are dancing और तेरे को नाचने को नहीं आता है और मैं आएगा चल मेरे साथ में नाच मेरे साथ, यू नो लाइक ब्रो तेरे को नहीं आता है नाचना, तू बैठ ना,
Mm.
हम लोग कुछ और करेगा, कॉफी पिएगा साथ में,
Mm.
you know. But you're like नहीं नहीं मेरे को नाचने का तुम लोग के साथ, like if you it's the lamest analogy I can give you, but if it's so, there was overreaching, and then there was, so there were a lot of these other things that I also think led to my own um, ostracization and my inability to therefore make connections with people. um, I don't think anybody, except for those 2 or 3 instances, I don't think anybody willfully did something to harm me, or it wasn't like that. It was more like, अच्छा Neville आ रहा है, बाद में करते हैं. Like
Ah.
it was that, and I don't know. I think that left a. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm now like, छोड़ना मेरे को लोग पसंद नहीं है, मैं अकेला ही खुश हूँ, और
Mm.
like I'm an introvert. Maybe that's what drove me into that world, because you've met me, like once you are in that circle of me having talking to you, liking you, etc., then I'm not a bad person to be around. It's okay, I can have a conversation, make eye contact and stuff like that, but like, yeah, I don't do parties, I don't go out of my way to meet people. I mean, I'm much happier people calling me and saying, "ये सुनना ये काम कर दे," than saying, "Hi, कैसा है? अच्छा, बहुत दिन हो गया बात करके. अच्छा, सुनना एक काम है." Just get to the point. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I've calibrated my relationships like that. Like, I remember calling you after the last quizzing
Mm-hmm.
quarterfinal,
Mm.
and I had a very emotional moment because it was an extremely emotional moment for me. Uh, and I was extra. Now that's not something I could have done with anybody. I can only do it with like a select few people,
Mm.
right? And so to me, those kind of things are far and few between. Making personal connections is very difficult for me. Um, and I have wronged people. I have been wronged, as a result of all of these things. And while in our journey of self improvement, I think that sometimes what you need to sort of objectively see is just the fact that there were circumstances that made people do things, and sometimes you were part of the circumstance, like, "Hey, mere ko bhi naachne hai." You were also part of that, and I think, but it is something that a lot of people have to deal with. Also, one of probably the reasons why I've always felt inadequate, because I never sort of fit in. Like, I didn't get what is the word, you everybody assumes कि comic तो बचपन से ही funny था क्लास में, और क्लास का मतलब, everybody was Deepak Tijori from Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar. No, it's not like that. Like, I wasn't Deepak Tijori till post grad, right? Like, I only became Deepak Tijori in grad and post grad. If you want to do the Deepak Tijori analogy, where people knew me for more than not being the annoying person or not being the person you want to think, it's like, "Hey, Neville ko bula, ye ho jayega." That only started happening to me in grad and post grad. So um, yeah, I mean, I think that's really my experience with it, in terms of, but even in the bullying and stuff, there are these unbelievably heartwarming instances that sort of come out, like, and that's, you can totally understand what, the Stockholm syndrome is when you go through one of these moments,
Mm.
because I remember in the 5th standard, uh, we used to have something called a tuck box, which was food outside of school food, okay,
Okay.
which you were permitted to eat in between the games and the dinner break. You were not allowed to eat tuck otherwise, okay. And I remember it was one of those evenings where we had to whatever go for dinner and stuff like that, but मैंने मेरा टक बॉक्स खोला, ठीक है, और again my dad used to get me really good tuck, like I had excellent tuck. Like he had tied up with one local vendor in Panchgani who would give me the stuff on credit and all, like if I asked for it and things like that. Okay. So that's how nice my dad was. He said, I will come once every 3 months and I will sort it. एक deposit दे देता था और उसके ऊपर चला गया तो he would. So there was all of that system. So I remember my warden saw me break this rule, and he was extremely pissed off. And he was like, how can you do this? We've explained this to you 3-4 times. This is not the way it's supposed to be done. Blah, blah, blah. And he took my tuck and he said, we're throwing your tuck out. And he took my tuck and he emptied the entire box out of the dormitory onto the floor, like into the, at that point, the quadrangle. What am I saying? In the quadrangle, right? And obviously because tuck fell out, everybody came, took, किसी ने chocolate ले लिया, किसी ने coke का can आता था वो ले लिया, किसी ने Toblerone ले लिया, किसी ने ये ले लिया वो लिया, सब चला गया, ठीक है, सब. So by the time I went down to try and salvage anything, there was nothing there, because मैं ऊपर गाली खा रहा था, फिर एक दो चाटे खाए, फिर मैं नीचे आया, तब तक सब चला गया ना. And I remember that there was a group of 10 standard, which was the highest standard in our school, 10 standard boys who were standing in a circle and they were sharing my coke, right? There were a few of them and they were sharing the coke can that they would have also found, and they were sharing it. And there was a guy there who looked at my face and he was like, this is your tuck? He's like, yeah. And he saw my face and he knew that, like, I'm in a boys' school, one fraction of a second about to burst into tears, right? So he said, don't worry, come. And what he did is, it was his turn to drink, so he took the can and he passed it to me before giving it to the next guy. And he sort of made me part of the circle. Dude, that only killed me. I was his fan for the rest of the year. I was like, ye aadmi kuch bhi bolega, main usko de dega. You know, just that moment. And you understand Stockholm Syndrome right after that. You're like, I get it.
Oh man. Okay, Neville. For our last topic, we are going to something fun because we've done relatively somber and
this happens with me a lot.
Like we've done feeling inadequate and bullying at school and father and everything. So we are going to a topic which is very dear to both our hearts, which is food. And I'm telling our audience why we're talking about food is because Neville is obsessed with food. He's a food connoisseur. He loves cooking. A lot of people ask me about food recommendation, but the person I ask for food recommendation is Neville Shah. I've literally traveled to places with a list of places that Neville has recommended, and I have planned my travel according to his list. Where I like lunch yahan, dinner yahan. So where can I go for sightseeing, or I plan everything around that. So Neville, let's end today's conversation with food and any theories around food, or your dreams with food, your experience with cooking. And I know you've traveled all over the world for food. I know whether it's Europe, US, India, and you have so many cooking stories and food stories. So what do you, Neville? You and food.
So no, I mean, my relationship with food is, I think it's, first of all, the theory that I think food is the only thing, especially if you are cooking it. I mean, it's true even if you are eating it, but food is the only thing that actually uses or delights all 5 senses. All 5. There is no other experience that does that. If you're watching the best movie in the world, you can't touch it. If you're reading the best book in the world, you can't, like, you can't taste it. So it whatever the experience, like you go to a water park or whatever it is you want, right? Like, it's not it won't delight every single sense. Food is the only thing in the world that does it. You look at a red apple or a green French bean or pudina that is like thing, or a like a leaf of, I don't know, anything, and you're like, this is nice. Or you break a bhindi and it's kaula and you're like you hear it. Or you look at pomfret and you press the gill and red water comes out and you're like, and I'm talking about just the raw form of it, right? And now there is an entire universe still left for you to sort of enjoy it. whether it whether it's when you make chapati ka atta and or batter for anything, you feel the texture on it. You can taste uh, things, you can smell, you can, it's everything, man. There is no other experience that gives you the quality or fulfills the desire of all five senses. It's not, it doesn't exist. And to me food is it to me I think food is a journey. And yeah, I know, but I mean, a lot of people joke about the fact that I mean, on Tisto, it's become a running routine where Kautuk will eat or mention some bad food, and I'll be like, "Hey, मैं थप्पड़ मारूंगा," or whatever. Uh, the only thing is, like, I've been through all of that, and like I don't like it anymore. It's as simple as that. I mean, my relationship with food has begun with mom. Has begun with just growing up in a Parsi household. To its where right from breakfast the meals are only lavish. There's no compromise meal. Like, there is no, like, our tea is tea and khari biscuit. It's not parle ji, it's not mari, it's khari biscuit, batasa, a cheese sandwich with cucumber maybe, or what. And I'm saying that's tea. Who the fuck gives that much attention to tea?
Yeah.
But like my cup of tea in the morning, I can't wake up without it. It's lemongrass fully. It's a production. Just making my own tea. And I don't know. For me, I think my relationship, and my mom had a simple theory, right? She used to work. So if I was hungry before she came home, and I didn't like lunch, I mean, why you made methi, but I also made chicken. I finished the chicken. Okay, so now eat the methi with the chapati. I mean, I don't want. Okay, then make for yourself. Like, it was like, I am not coming home till 7:30. You want to eat? You fucking make food, right? And I think that's really where it sort of started. I, I mean, if you ask me to repeat a recipe, I don't know it verbatim. Like, I do. It's literally like it's a process that, like, while I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, this sounds good. This feels good. This smells good. Let's do it. And there's some basic theories. उसमें भी एक इसमें भी एक regret है, by the way, KV. उसमें भी एक regret है मेरे को. Like, I have a lot of friends who are chefs, and like very close friends also who are chefs, and who love cooking and things like that. And like, they know why. Do you know why an oven needs to be at 210 first and then come down to 160? कोई तो साइंस होगा ना, कोई तो वजह होगी कि पहले गरम. You, like, I know for crackling why you would do it, but fucking why do you need to do it for a pie, or why do you need it for like anda or lamb chop or whatever, right? ये सब नहीं आता है मेरे को. I wish I had studied food chemistry. It's another, like, when you're cooking onions and you put a little bit of salt, they cook faster. Now, this trick everyone tells you. Nobody's fucking telling me why, but there is some, I'm assuming there is some chemistry to it, right? Like NaCl plus ONion equals something. Right?
Yeah.
But it's these little things, like, fucking, if you made your food too salty or too spicy, put a potato in it. It will solve it. It's, what is this brain? Like, it's like, it's fixable. Food is, it's so anyway, my journey of food has started with mom. And mom used to be a fan of eating out. We used to, like, I would have date nights with my mother where we would go and eat food in semi decent restaurants and stuff like that. Birthdays were, of course, like a really good restaurant or whatever. And we would eat like a stroganoff, और तभी ये सब ऐसा exotic था. Stroganoff, और क्या था वो, एक लॉबस्टर थर्मिडोर, हॉलीडे इनका कॉफी शॉप में मिलता था. ठीक है, मेरा डैड का फेवरेट था. ठीक है, so like it's these things that I used to think, and it's actually pretty awful if you hear now the recipe of a lobster thermidor. Okay, so but it felt so nice to be able to eat with, and there was a certain way and precision. Like, being a bawa, I'm able to clean a fish or a piece of chicken or mutton with just a fork and a knife. Like, I don't need to use my hands. Like
mm,
and there is a certain and I'm not clumsy there. I'm not
mm,
I'm not messy there. I it'll be neat. Like you'll see the entire fish ka
mm,
bone when I'm done with a pomfret with just a fork and a knife. And so to me, I'm good at it. Like it's one
mm,
of those things that I'm good
mm,
at. Like uh, I mean, people who've eaten my food are like, this is fucking excellent.
mm,
Or had my chai are like, this is, and it's gratifying. So
mm,
it's one of those things where I'm getting the attention for the right reasons rather than, hey, mere ko naachne ka hai." And yeah, I mean, I think the palate grows as you grow and you travel. And now it's come to a point where I pick a restaurant I want to go to and then plan my vacation around the restaurant.
mm,
I'm like, इस बार मैं जाऊंगा तो मैं like last time I wanted to do 11 Madison Park, and
mm,
fortunately I
mm.
did it in 2019 December.
Yeah.
I my whole life was okay. 11 Madison Park in December. This
Mm,
is my
mm,
ऐसा board पे लगा दिया था
yeah.
जा रहा है. So I think my relationship with food is just because I'm good at making it and eating it.
Mm,
So that's, but I'm terrible at pastries and desserts because it requires precision. I
yeah.
can't do precision. Desserts are the toughest things to make for me because they're like for 54 grams castor sugar, 36 grams salt. I mean, कौन measure करेगा इतना time किसके पास है? So
Oh
yeah.
man. The most interesting part about this whole thing, Neville, and I'm not sure if you remember, but you went to 11 Madison and everything in December 2019. January 7th, 2020 is when we met at Sahil Shah's reception.
Yeah.
And you said I went there and it was this, it was that, it was so good, ye wo. And I told you, man, इस साल मैं भी जाएगा, मैं पूरा दुनिया travel करेगा. Neville, give me a list. 2020 is all about travel. Neville, मैं यहाँ घूमूंगा, यहाँ घूमूंगा. And of course.
uh, oh,
Oh man.
yeah.
But that brings us to the end of conversation, Neville. Okay, cool. Thank you, Neville, for this. We are going to rapid fire now. Okay. The only rule is you're not allowed to think at all.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Top of the
Heavy.
mind, whatever comes. Okay. Are you ready?
No.
Okay. Rapid fire with Neville Shah. Favorite TV commercial of all time?
कुछ खास है हम सभी में.
One brand you admire the most?
Under Armour.
One word for the following people. Adar Malik.
Stupid as fuck.
Kautuk Srivastava.
Excellent writer. Excellent writer.
Varun Thakur.
Punchline machine. Literally punchline machine.
Best restaurant you've eaten at?
Oh, this is not fair. This
No,
is
you
a
have to.
oh shit, and I can't think also. I'm going to say two. One was Blue Hill, which is Dan Barber's restaurant, and the other was 11 Madison Park for sure.
Favorite footballer of all time?
Uh, it's between three guys. It's Cafu, Philip Lam, okay, and Maldini. All defenders.
I
I
can see
don't know,
that.
and John Terry. John Terry, yes. Yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
This is not. This is.
Yeah, you can't think.
Arey, but how can you say one
I
movie?
I know you can't. That's the whole fun. Whatever came to your mind.
Okay, Shawshank Redemption, I guess.
Okay. Favorite Indian stand-up comedian?
Kanan.
Favorite Indian stand-up special?
The uncut version of Problems by Azim. No, sorry, the uncut version of the new Azim special, Between the Lines.
Okay, Between the Lines.
Because I also think it's the most recent special.
Best Indian web series?
Best Indian web series. I really liked Afsos.
Of course. Okay. Best thing about Mumbai?
That I grew up, that it's home.
It's home. Cool. Okay, we'll go back to all the answers, Neville, and now you have like a minute to explain if you feel like explaining any of these. Favorite TVC? Obviously, I asked because you're a nat guy, and you nicely you played the nice agency guy and picked. But no, to be fair, it's one of the most iconic.
It is also.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to do the not thinking part, and
Yeah.
I mean, having spoken about Cadbury and stuff like that,
Yeah.
that's the commercial on the top of my head. If you literally ask me what all there's 1984, There's
Yeah.
the new. Have you seen the new this thing? What is that brand? Body Form commercial. It's fucking outstanding. It
Hmm.
won Cannes Grand Prix this year.
Wow.
But like I mean, even if you have to look at the olden times, I would think dude.
Hmm.
It's just because of the but like that whole AIB jingle
Yeah.
thing. Every single ad in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single ad in that.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about Kuch Khas Hai? Why do you think this you rate above everything else? Also, because as like we were taught this ad in B school, like we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
taught how the entire chocolate category and like Piyush Pandey and Ogilvy and everything. But obviously, from the horse's mouth, we want to talk about that ad for
Arey,
a
no,
minute.
no, horse is Piyush Pandey in this
Yeah,
case,
yeah,
but
no, like from the
but no,
stable, same stable.
same stable. No, I mean, I've seen that ad is relevant today.
Hmm.
Like to me, like when I mean, you research every ad, right?
Hmm.
And when you ask people, आपको Cadbury का कौन सा ad याद है? There is not one person, and this is age no bar, by the way. I'm saying 18
Hmm.
plus,
Hmm.
right? Is what you normally would go with.
Hmm.
There isn't a single person who doesn't mention कुछ खास है हम सभी में.
Hmm.
And I'm saying, and the point is, कुछ खास है हम सभी में was across 3 or 4 jingles,
Hmm.
was across 3 or 4 ads. But everyone is remember Shimona. I mean, the girl dancing
Hmm.
on the cricket film,
Hmm.
right? And there is something crazy about that ad. I mean, just the spontaneity of that take, and you should hear the stories also
Hmm.
of like shooting it and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Like, matlab, there's incredible thing. I mean, pandemonium. Read it.
Hmm. Yeah, I've read it. One brand you admire the most, I'm a little surprised here. I thought you'll go with one of the traditional
Yeah.
marketing brands like Coke and everything, but you picked a relatively younger brand, so to speak, Under Armour. Do you want to say why you said Under Armour above?
I think Under Armour is the reason why. I think it was also because I was looking at some Under Armour work today.
Hmm. Hmm.
But also, it's पहले तो Droga 5.
Hmm.
ठीक है. Droga 5 is their agency, or as we like to call them, Daroga Ji. This is a category which has had Adidas,
Hmm.
Nike,
Hmm.
Puma,
Hmm.
Umbro,
Hmm.
like I'm saying,
Hmm.
iconic brands,
Hmm.
right, that
Hmm.
have come in. And here is a brand that has literally come from nowhere
Hmm.
in the last 6 years. You
Hmm.
don't even, I mean, who knew Under Armour 6 years ago?
Hmm. Hmm.
And has taken not just market share, but has done excellent, unbelievable work
Yeah.
uh, from a body of work standpoint, and has not necessarily done the Nike thing, which
Hmm.
is only celebrity endorsements.
Hmm.
Um, you know, um, I mean, one of Nike's best work is that Fear, and
Hmm.
it's the
Hmm.
kid diving in, or
Hmm.
or the fat guy running,
Hmm.
Heroes. I don't know. There is a certain challenger mentality to it, but they didn't approach it like a challenger at all. They came in saying, "हम लोग हैं." मतलब तुम
Hmm.
लोग ने, I
Yeah.
so I don't know. There's something about Under Armour that I genuinely admire,
Hmm.
compared to like all. I mean, Coke and all are outstanding brands, but
Hmm.
I think Cadbury, it's an outstanding brand, consistently done great work. But let's also face it, Cadbury had first mover advantage.
Hmm.
Did the chocolate building in this country in terms of
Hmm.
that. Cadbury is the Bisleri equivalent of chocolate,
Hmm.
literally. So, but Under Armour,
Then
recent story and a great
yeah.
story.
Okay. Then we went to one word for the following three colleagues of yours. Maybe a few seconds on each of them. Adar Malik, you called him stupid as fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. It's other genuinely. I mean, I've done the. If you remember, we've done the complete works of Shakespeare together,
Yeah.
Abridged with Bridge, Adar and I.
Yeah.
The guy is he's a wonderful performer. He's an
Yeah.
outstanding performer.
Hmm.
And we do this show called Why Are We Fighting? Adar and I do this show called Why Are We Fighting?
Hmm.
And he has found the trigger points so beautifully to piss
Hmm.
me off. In the last 4 or 5 episodes, though, it's not even acting. He has just said things to piss me off. Like, he has managed to do it so
Yeah.
perfectly well. So he's extremely intelligent. I call him stupid as fuck only because he plays that card and he wants to be known as that. So let's give it to him.
Kautuk, you said excellent writer.
Dude, I mean, and this is, I mean, there are a lot of great writers. I mean, I know Kanan, Azim, they're writers first,
Hmm.
in terms of, just even their craft, they're writers first. The thing is, I have spent countless hours with Kautuk, just discussing structure and discussing, how, why, and like even when when I run some stand-up bits past him, it's he's got such a writer mentality. He's like, to how can you do this if you've not given exposition even 20 minutes ago? Like, please at some point connect this dot. And he's a wonderful, wonderful writer. He's genuinely a writer.
Mm. And then you went to Varun Thakur, you said he's a punchline machine. This I've seen in action, but yeah.
He's insane.
Yeah.
He can make a punchline out of anything. It's unbelievable how well he does it. Like, he literally is able to turn anything into a joke. He's very good.
Okay, now series.
I don't find him funny, but
now a series of tough questions, but let's see if you can justify all your answers
Yeah.
now in retrospect. Best restaurant you've ever eaten at, and you picked Blue Hill and 11 Madison. Do you want to talk about these two? Why you went with these two?
So, I mean, I was even thinking of Gagan. I was even thinking of Gaga, which is Garima's restaurant, first Indian origin Michelin star chef, female Indian origin Michelin star chef, and all that. So I was even excited about that. But I think, and by the way, Gagan's earlier restaurant, I've not eaten at the new one at all.
And the new
Because lol. But I'm saying Gagan's earlier restaurant, by far one of the best brain to mouth experiences I've ever had. Like, he was fucking with you, just like ऐसा कुछ भी चल रहा है ऐसा, and you're like, what ऐसा. But I think the entire Blue Hill, just Dan Barber's philosophy. I don't know if you've seen the Chef's Table episode with Dan Barber, but if you get a chance, I think it's the second episode of the first season. And dude, he said that मेरे को ना ऐसा फार्म टू टेबल रेस्टोरेंट करने था, तो मैंने एक फार्म बनाया. अभी मैं फार्म बनाया तो मेरे को फार्म के साथ टू गार्ड द आउटसाइड आई नीडेड पोटैटोस, तो मैं पोटैटो डाला तो अभी मेरे को घास लगा तो मेरे को गाय लगा, गोट लगा तो मेरे को गाय लगा तो मेरे को ये लगा, फिर अभी मैं अंडा कर रहा है तो फिर मेरे को चिकन चाहिए, ये करके he's basically reformatted his entire thing, and he started to build an ecosystem, not just of things. So his philosophy of food felt very responsible, felt very nice. It's not like what a lot of restaurants even in India do, and wrongly I might say, that it's just as a New Zealand lamb chop tapak dal diya tere plate pe. Bro, yes, New Zealand lamb chop very good, etc., but like, I mean, what about locally sourced produce and stuff? Which is why there is a lot of that conversation. So, and when I had eaten there, dude, उसने मेरे को एक टमाटर दिया था यार. It was nothing. It was an heirloom tomato that he fucking gave me. Dude, I was like, how can a tomato taste this good? And it's a tomato. So I think it's, even before the food is cooked, the effort that's being taken in, etc. So that, and 11 Madison Park, not just because it's now they've turned vegan. I still have to go, I think, but just to try this nonsense. But I think it was the best meal I mean, it was one of the best meals I've ever eaten. It's superlative, like, just right from the start to the end, like, again, locally sourced ingredients, etc. Trying to like, they did caviar from North America, which is, you're like, what, Idaho से तू caviar लेके आया, मतलब क्या कर रहा है, that kind of stuff. So I think there is that philosophy only, it's really, and it also, then there's incredible craft involved in just making a dish look like, it's not just foam and smoke, which was a trend in the early 2000s, where ऐसा ड्राई आइस डाल के पानी थोड़ा डाला और ऐसा स्मोक आया और बोला ओह, फिर वो चॉकलेट बॉम्ब ऐसा टच किया और चॉकलेट फूड. There's tremendous craft in there.
Then we went to football, because I realized that we haven't talked about football at all. and you picked a series of defenders. From Brazil, you picked Cafu. It's like a multi-cuisine restaurant. A German Lamb and like Italian Maldini and John Terry from England. Do you want to talk about your love for these footballers and like this defending icons?
Also, I think if you just look at them, they're also all captains.
Oh
Um,
yes, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and uh, I think I don't know. I think that there is a spirit in them which
Mm.
is it's almost मैं जान दे देगा ये फील्ड पे.
Uh,
Like all of them have done that. Whether it's Lam, whether it's Kafu. I mean,
mm,
Malini to जाके गोल मार के आता. I'm saying like you know, I I have no idea why. I mean, you would think that most people would like a forward or a midfielder,
yeah,
and I've not
yeah,
mentioned say a Lampard or a Beckham
yeah,
or a
yeah.
I've not mentioned Ballack or
Mm,
and Fabregas, who I fucking loved.
mm,
Any of these Spaniards who can put a ball in literally through a
mm,
need, like
mm,
literally from a needle hole, they will be
mm,
able to put a ball in. So to me, I don't know. There is something about these defenders who the loyalty to the club or the country. There's a like I
mm,
belong here and this is home and I will do everything that it takes
mm,
for this.
mm,
And we're in trouble. I will front it. I will come on the line. Like
mm,
John Terry, not necessarily the greatest defender in the world.
mm,
Like
mm, mm,
because only there was only one guy who would make him hold the line, and that was Carvalho. If
mm,
Carvalho wasn't there, Terry would be standing next to
mm,
the keeper
mm,
or next to Peter Cech.
mm,
But
mm,
wo Carvalho was chal aage chal, like
mm,
to hold the offside line. So,
mm.
but to me, John Terry, I mean, as a defender, he
Yeah.
put a body on the line. Yeah, I mean, it's that, which is why even if you look at like Liverpool, Gerrard had that spirit, right?
Mm,
Like
mm,
he had. I don't see Salah, Mane, Firmino
mm,
having that Gerrard-like quality.
mm,
Local boy growing up in the
mm,
club, etc. Like वो Dirk Kite करता था ये थोड़ा
mm,
थोड़ा.
mm.
I don't know why I remember Dirk Kite, but nobody remembers him. But
No, no, we don't remember.
Hmm.
Okay, favorite movie of all time, you picked Shawshank.
Because you put me on you can't do
I
this.
know. This is what I told Rohan also. Like, if I ask you now, like now it might be a different answer. Tomorrow might be a
Yeah,
third movie,
100%.
but it is what it is. So just tell me,
Um,
why would you rate Shawshank before a billion other movies that you've seen?
and it's unfair now. But you know what? I think that it is one of the movies that compares to the novella or the book or the written
Mm,
version of
mm,
it comes pretty close.
mm,
The feeling that you get when you read the short story
mm,
and the
mm,
feeling that you get when you watch the movie. और साले का डेब्यू पिक्चर था यार.
mm,
Like Darabond's first film. You're like, how, what? This is the Sholay effect. Like
mm,
he's not made a film as good as that after.
yeah.
Um, and funnily enough, there's a philosophy in the film only, and I think that that's what it's about, the hope.
Mm,
It's
mm,
the hope that really sort of will
mm,
kill you, right?
mm, mm,
There's, I think, from a screenplay point of view, from a direction point of view, from a pacing point of view, I don't think that there's a scene you can cut
mm,
in Shawshank, which like in The Godfather, there are scenes
mm,
that you can cut, and maybe it won't. It'll still be an iconic film.
mm.
It may not change. Oh, fuck, God, people will kill me. But I'm
Yeah, I was
saying,
about to say, okay, tell me a scene that you want to cut in Godfather.
yeah, I know. But I'm saying, okay, let's not look at. I'm saying
Yeah,
Apocalypse Now. Chal,
yeah,
okay, Apocalypse Now. There are scenes that you can probably cut,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you look at like Sarfarosh, for example.
Mm, mm,
You can't cut a scene in Sarfarosh and keep Sarfarosh the same.
mm,
It's one of those really perfectly tight films.
mm,
And to me, I think it's one of those movies that when I watched, at the time that I watched it for the
mm,
first time, it did something to me. And this is true for even if you had asked me my favorite books, I think my favorite books ka answer never changes. It's
mm,
always these three books, and it'll always be those three books, because no other book at the time that I read it had the impact that these three books had on me.
mm,
Hitchhiker's, Catcher in the Rye, and To Kill a Mockingbird.
mm,
these three books have had an impact on me because of the time that I read them.
mm,
You know, had I read even one of them 1 year later, it
yeah,
wouldn't have had it.
yeah,
So I think
yeah.
what Shawshank did to me was like, fuck, ऐसी भी फिल्में बन सकती हैं, ऐसी भी पिक्चरें बना सकते हैं. Like,
Mm.
so I think that's why Shawshank.
Okay, favorite Indian stand-up comedian, you picked Kanan. Now tell me why Kanan over every other stand-up comedian.
Because again you fucking put me on the spot.
Yeah.
Because I've directed Kanan, and
Yeah.
I've directed a lot of other comics as well, like a lot of other comics.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I think Kanan is one of those comics who is way ahead of his time in terms of the kind of comedy that he's doing.
Mm,
Um, Dude, even in yours sincerely, like there's a Fight Club ending
mm,
in a stand-up special,
mm,
you know, and you know there's little tidbits that are so nice, where, like, you know, when he was doing the thing, somewhere in a joke he talks about, you know, 30 minutes later we are still waiting there or something like that, and or we go back there or whatever it was in the dog bit. um and if you watch the special, it's at the 30-minute mark,
mm,
you know. So there are these like Easter eggs, and it's thought of. Kanan's
mm,
not just put it there,
mm,
it's thought of. And I think that as a
yeah.
thinking comedian, he sort of put all of this in place. And I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with him, and I think that his the way he crafts a joke, the way he disguises a joke, um, the way he think. And I mean, even you're a fan, I know. So
Yeah.
like the, I mean, even just look at what he does, even for his quiz, which we think it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an absurd quiz, you know. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
there is an absurdist nature to that man, which it's almost it's too high a compliment, but it's almost Python-esque
Mm,
in the way he thinks. He,
mm,
he he doesn't do life comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like
mm, mm,
it's absurdist, and
yeah.
there is genuine, and very few people can do absurdist really well.
Mm,
Like I
yeah.
think what's his name? Eddie Izzard does it really well.
Mm,
And yeah, very few people can do it otherwise.
mm,
If I had to tell you Star Wars Cantina, there is one comic in
yeah.
India who's written Star Wars Cantina.
Yeah.
Who would be able to write it? Apart from
Correct.
Rohan from his nerdiness, but
Yeah.
I'm saying Kanan's the only
Yeah.
one who would be able to write Star Wars Cantina. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay. Favorite Indian stand-up special? You said the uncut version, so obviously which we can't see. But do you want to talk
No,
about
no.
Between the Lines
Uh,
from by Azim Manakar?
yeah, yeah. No, no. I was just being cheeky on that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just being cheeky on that one. I think as the industry evolves, I think it's always the most recent special that's going to be the best
Fair.
special.
Mm,
And probably that's the only reason why. Like, I think Yours Sincerely is a great special. I think
mm,
Interesting Person in the Room is a great special. And
mm,
like when we were doing Kenny's special, I didn't technically direct it. I was creative
mm,
director on it.
mm,
But when there was a lot of thought process even behind that.
mm,
And when we did Problems with Azim, there was thought process behind that. But I think as the industry shifts, I think the most recent special is the most recent special, and
fair.
I think that's the only reason why I said it. I want it to be true,
Mm,
that the when the industry releases a special, that's the most recent special. That's the best special.
got it. Best Indian web series. You picked a web series created by comrade Anirban Dasgupta. How? Why do you rate Afsos above many other Indian web series?
Uh, पहले तो मैं बहुत कुछ देखा नहीं है,
Huh.
right? Like
Fair.
I mean I have not seen a lot. Um, if I would have said Chacha, then it would have just been because you are there and all that.
No, no.
So that's why I didn't say Chacha. I purposely didn't say Chacha. The reason for Afsos is because I remember Anirban calling me, telling me कि please तू देख मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगा, मेरे को तेरा opinion जानने का whatever. And when I saw the pilot, I was like, fuck, what is this happening? Because the pilot was genuinely gripping. Plus, I think it's close to home, so it's one of those
Mm,
reasons also why you like it. You've heard stories from Anirban of production nightmares
yeah.
and how they've had to shoot it and what all they've done. So I think it almost felt like it's your own production, and so I sort of liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, Sacred Games and all, I don't consider them Indian in that, because there's
Mm,
like so much scale. Like Family Man is a film. It's like it's
mm,
when you say web series, I feel people who've struggled
Mhm.
and have had like indie budgets
Yeah.
to do it,
Yeah.
where they've had to cast their friends saying, "KV, tu karega kya
Uh,
chacha mein kaam?" and like get people like that. To me is a web
yeah.
series,
Yeah.
like Sumukhi
Yeah.
doing Pushpavali. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
to me is
Yeah. Fair.
a tough
Okay.
one.
Best thing about Mumbai, you said it's home. Uh, yeah, I mean, what better way to put it?
Yeah, I mean it
Yeah,
is.
it is. It is home. It is home to now so many of us. And yeah, what a great end to the episode, Neville. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being a part of Random
No, no,
Musings.
I'm
Thank
excited
you
and
so much.
honored that you called me. Cannot believe I had a pen and paper for this.
No, thank you, thank you, thank you.
See you.